Hey, this is Lynn. Happy Monday. It is Weigh-In Monday, December 2nd, 2024. I've just finished 80 weeks on the carnivore diet. And last week was Thanksgiving. Now, we ended up celebrating Thanksgiving on Friday instead of Thursday because my daughter early in the week had a really bad stomach flu. Ended up in the ER. She was so weak, she couldn't even get off the floor. She's okay, but she asked for an extra day to get her strength back because she was going to be cooking the turkey and doing a lot of the work. So we ended up having Thanksgiving on Friday. So I'm just going to cut to the chase and say it was an epic fail for me. Not because I ate carbs, because I didn't. I didn't eat any carbs. But I should have just got some wonderful beef, made it, stuck with that. That was fine. But I was overzealous. I decided I'm going to try some of these other carnivore dishes that I see on other people's channels that they're talking about. I figured I'm going to make stuffing. I'm going to make those carnivore mashed potatoes. We're going to have gravy. I made a carnivore custard, and I made deviled eggs. I always make deviled eggs. You can't mess up deviled eggs if you just follow the traditional recipe. Deviled eggs were fine. But literally, it was such an epic fail. It was basically like a comedy of errors. So, first of all, failing to plan for sure made it so that I failed. For some reason, I completely forgot that the oven was not going to be available to me. And because my daughter was coming over at 7 a.m. to get the turkey on, and she was making her own stuffing and she was making her own stuff. My in-laws were over visiting, so she was making mashed potatoes and she was making green beans and different things. So I forgot I don't have access to my oven. So I had to kind of figure out what I was going to do. And so I ended up going to the store, and it was Friday, so fortunately all the stores were open. And I bought this like souffle dish, a smaller souffle dish that would fit in my air fryer. And I figured, okay, I'm going to bake the bread in my air fryer. Well, and I figured I would then just, toast it up and have it in pieces and get it ready for the stuffing. Well, about halfway through making the bread, I realized this is taking forever. There is no way I'm going to have time to make stuffing. It's not going to happen. So I figured, okay, just going to have bread. Now, I'm not going to say whose bread recipe I followed because I don't have anything good to say about it. Well, maybe I'll say a couple of good things. It looked like bread. It had the little soft sponginess of bread. It didn't taste like eggs. It didn't smell like eggs. So one of the problems was, so I have 2 air fryers. With the custard, I decided to make it's not a graham cracker little crust at the bottom of the little ramekins. It was using pork rind panko. So I took pork rind panko and I added butter to it, just like you would make a graham cracker crust. And I put some vanilla powder, and I just patted it down on the bottom of these ramekins. And I decided I was going to try to maybe toast it a little bit in the air fryer before I added the custard to it and cooked the custard. So I had the ramekins in one of my air fryers, and I had the bread baking in the other air fryer. So when I went out to check on the little crusts, it smelled burning. So I'm like, oh, okay, that must be burning them. So I took them out early, and I brought them in, and I proceeded to do the custard, which was an easy recipe. But it's supposed to go into a water bath in the oven. So I thought, well, I have a steam function on my Instant Pot. So I think I'm going to do it on my Instant Pot instead. So I got the Instant Pot all set up, and only 2 of them would fit, and I actually had 4. So I put the 2 of them in my Instant Pot, and then I was able to squeeze the other 2 in the water bath at the bottom of the oven, but it's supposed to cook at 325, and the oven was set for 375. So I figured, okay, I'm just going to cook it for less time. Okay, mistake after mistake after mistake. So by the time I got the custards, cooking, one in the Instant Pot, the others in the oven, it was time to get the bread. Or almost time to get the bread. So I went to check on the bread, and my air fryer was smoking. And boy, did it smell burnt. So I'm like, oh, great. So obviously the burn smell that I was smelling before was the bread. It was not my little crust things. So I turned my air fryer off and go to pull it out. It wouldn't come out because the bread apparently had expanded so much and had come in contact with the heat source, and that's what was burning. So I could not get the air fryer basket out of the air fryer. So I figured, okay, I'm going to just relax. I'm going to go back in the house. I'm going to see if it'll deflate. So I came back like 10 minutes later, and I was able to get it out. The big section, like that much of it on the top, was black. I figured, okay, this is salvageable. So I cut it off. And at that point, I had already decided no's to the stuffing. It was just not going to work. I'm just going to slice this, and we're just going to toast it, and we're going to just eat it that way. But I have to back up because another funny thing that happened after I put the bread in the air fryer, and I came back in the house, and I just got done making the bread and the dough, everything. I noticed that my nail had fallen off, and so the first thought was, oh great, my nail is in the bread. And it's cooking now in my air fryer. So I'm looking all over the place for my nail. And if my son-in-law is sitting in the living room laughing at me, justifiably, of course, because again, this whole thing is just a comedy of errors. The whole thing is. And fortunately, I found my nail. It was not in the bread. So that's good. So the next thing I decided to do was I was going to make these mashed potatoes. Yeah, that did not work at all. And other people make it look so easy. It was not easy at all. And one of the issues was the recipe says that you're supposed to cook the eggy part of it until it's very dried out, and it smells like buttered popcorn. So I'm smelling it. I don't smell buttered popcorn. I'm having my daughter come over and smell it. She doesn't really smell anything. Fortunately, it didn't smell like eggs anymore. Had my son-in-law like 3 times, had his face in my frying pan, trying to see if it smelled like buttered popcorn. My husband came home. He was out, had his face in it. And finally, he said, yeah, I guess it kind of does. And at that point, I've got little tiny, like, a brown butter and little brown pieces all over the bottom of the pan. And I'm like, if this isn't done, it's like overdone. So I just gave up. I said, okay, apparently I'm not going to smell buttered popcorn. And this thing, if it gets any drier, it's going to just be caked to the bottom of the pan. I've been stirring it constantly. And I was probably 40 minutes over the stove stirring it. I overheated, so I'm starting to feel dizzy. My mast cell activation syndrome is so much better. I haven't overheated for a long time, but 40 minutes over the stove is really putting it to the test. And I'm starting to feel a little woozy and like I'm on the verge. I had to have my daughter stir for a while I went outside where it was cold, and I'm like, trying to get cool and drink water. And I will never do this again. Honestly, it was so not worth it. But so I finally gave up on the egg mixture part of it, and you have to throw it in a blender. We have a Vitamix blender, so I put it in the blender, and then you're supposed to add the rest of the ingredients, and you're supposed to start with like a 1/4 cup of cream to try to get them creamy in the blender. So I did that. I got my Vitamix going, and I'm squashing it down, and next thing I know, it just stopped. And I had added more cream because I'm like, this is not getting to be pureed texture at all. Well, I burnt out the motor. Thank God, not permanently. It did recover later. But I'm like, okay, now what am I going to do? I've got this weird consistency, nothing even remotely close to mashed potatoes. So we got them into another pan, and I grabbed my immersion blender and just started with the immersion blender. supposedly you're only supposed to add the cream like 2-3 tablespoons at a time because it's important not to add too much. And I was like pouring the cream in there because I could not get the nice pureed texture. If my life depended on it, I must have added 2 cups of cream. Well, maybe not 2 cups, but I must have added maybe a cup to a cup and a half of cream. It's like, this is not supposed to be this way. So I just gave up. It's like, okay, the texture's terrible. I tasted it. This doesn't taste anything like mashed potatoes. It just tastes so disgusting. But I had put all this effort into it. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to make gravy, and maybe the gravy can salvage it. And I needed to make little bacon crumbles for my daughter for her green beans anyway. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to just make a bacon beef gravy. And so I sauteed all this bacon in the bottom of a pan, gave her the bacon crumbles, and then scraped the bottom, poured in the beef broth, poured in cream, let it simmer down. The bacon beef gravy was actually really good. Full of cream again. Cream everywhere. Cream. And cheese. The mashed potatoes had 2 types of cheeses in it. Never again. So we ended up eating, and I'll put a picture of my plate here. It was so uninspiring. And my daughter, she does a good turkey. Her turkey is good. But my plate was like, ugh, this does not look appetizing. The bread had no taste. Like, no taste. It was like, bleh, the worst bread ever. And when I later look back at the recipe, I thought, I should have engaged my brain. I was so focused on the fact that I didn't have an oven to bake it in, trying to troubleshoot that. I didn't even take a moment to really look at what I was making. And before I was carnivore, sorry, my desk's shaking. I'm getting too excited. I used to bake my own bread. So I know how to bake bread. And I know what I like in bread to make it taste good. And the bread recipe had no salt. It had no butter. And it needed it. It turned out so flavorless. And I'm not saying I'm never going to make use the concept for the bread, because it did turn out spongy and fluffy and looking and type, the texture of bread. But I think I'm going to combine a couple of bread recipes to see if I can get that spongy texture and actually have taste, so that it actually tastes decent. It's going to be a while, because first of all, I should know that making these food substitutes really is not worth it. It really isn't. So my husband, if I can make a good version of a carnivore bread, he would probably enjoy having a sandwich. And so maybe I'll do that, but it is not going to be that recipe, that's for sure. And I should have known. No salt and no butter does not make a tasty bread. I'm sorry. But the deviled eggs, of course, were good. The turkey was tasty. The mashed potatoes were disgusting. The gravy was good. It was the only reason I had even ate some of the mashed potatoes was so that I could enjoy the gravy. I didn't even finish. I just couldn't stomach it anymore. It's like, that is way too much. Okay. And I was full. I was feeling like, ugh, like my gut was unhappy. It was not good. And I ate way too many deviled eggs leading into the whole dinner. So I was already kind of satiated going into dinner. So I had a turkey leg, I had dark meat, which was good. So then later, maybe a couple hours later, I said, okay, well, everyone else had their dessert. I pulled out the custards to figure, well, maybe at least the custards hopefully turned out okay. No, they did not. The custard in the steamer in the Instant Pot was way overcooked. So whatever time I was supposed to do it in the oven, I used the same time. Big mistake. It was not custardy at all. It was just like super dense and overcooked, and custard is not supposed to be that way. The one in the oven, a little less overcooked, but still overcooked. It was cooked 50 degrees higher than it was supposed to. So, did I eat them? Yes, I did. That is my old addiction to sweets kicking back in, because my whole thing was always bad dessert is better than no dessert. And that mentality kicked back in. By that time, I was overheated. I was exhausted. I was fed up, unsatisfied with the food other than the deviled eggs and the gravy. And I'm like, I'm eating this custard. And so I did. I ate the custard. And it was like, this doesn't taste that great. But again, bad dessert's better than no dessert. Such a bad mentality. Honestly, I usually have no desire for sweets and desserts. And so the fact that I even made it was really just dumb of me. Like, why did I need to do that? I didn't need any dessert. And I ended up drinking coffee with cream. So my whole day was cream and cheese and fake food and not even beef other than the beef broth that went into the gravy. Like, worst decisions on my part ever. So that is my Thanksgiving story. It was just an absolute epic fail for me. The next day I woke up, belly still felt bloated. I had pain in my hips. I was like, ugh, and I was exhausted because I was like scrambling all over the kitchen, trying to get things done. It was hot. I was determined I wasn't going to make other people finish the mess that I started. So I was going to finish the job that I started and get these things made. I was just wiped out, tired. And then Saturday we had our launch live stream for Healing Humanity Life. And so I was just going to be part of the beginning of it because we had concert tickets for Michael W. Smith Christmas concert. And so I was at the very, very beginning of it. I was just resting a lot on Saturday. And by Sunday, I crashed. In the morning, I just told Dave, just go to church. In-laws were leaving. They were going to go to church and then leave. I said, I'm too weary. I can't get out of bed. I spent all of yesterday in my pajamas. I said, don't even worry if you see me watching dumb Hallmark movie after dumb Hallmark movie. They all have the same plot. I needed something completely mindless so I didn't have to think and I could just be a vegetable. Literally vegetable. Today I'm still tired. I am. So I'm paying the price for making that decision to go ahead and do all that. Not going to happen. Next holiday, I'm got a really awesome piece of beef and we're going to have beef, and that's it because I feel so good just eating beef. I like it. It tastes good. It's satisfying. It makes my whole body feel amazing. Nothing gets inflamed. My gut is happy. Yeah. So hopefully lesson learned. If I ever talk about doing this again, point me back to my Thanksgiving 2024 video. And I will remember the big mistake it was. So with that said, you can probably guess what happened when I stepped on the scale this morning. I was up 2 pounds. And I know it's all the cream and the cheese. All right. Well, so technically I stuck to carnivore. I did not do the type of carnivore that I should have. So anyways, let's just take a look at my results. Rip off the Band-Aid, get the pain out of the way. I have picked up and moved on. It's over. It's in my past. Good choices are to follow. But for now, as of this morning, I weighed in at 232.6, up exactly 2 pounds from last week. And I had still been weighing myself daily up until the Thanksgiving, and I still have. And I had actually dipped down for a couple of days below 230s. I was in the 220s. And I was so excited, and I just blew it. All right, I'm not going to beat myself up anymore. It is what it is. It's over. Okay, so, and I'll get there again. I know I will. So up 2 pounds, my fat-free body weight went down. I lost 0.2 of muscle, 0.2 of bone. It's just an overall, not good. My basic metabolic rate went down. I was really getting up there, starting to, I'm edging my way up to 1600. I'm back to 1593. Yeah, this was not good. So with my fat-free body weight coming down by 0.2 pounds, even though my scale was down 2 even, my fat I'm up 2.2 pounds in fat. That will come off. So it is what it is. My muscle again is down by 0.2. My bone is down by 0.2. So that means water flow is up by 0.2. So overall, since the very beginning, and this is always the highlight, because despite the little ups and downs of the different weeks, overall, my scale has me down 107 pounds. I have gained 26.8 pounds of good tissue, 25.4 pounds of muscle, 1.6 pounds of bone. And the difference is a little bit of fluid, which is my overall fluid is down by 0.2 as of this week. So my fat loss since the end of May of 2023 has been 133.8 pounds. So it is what it is. I'm going to make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, my very last note was not worth it. It really was not worth it. Will not be doing that again. I almost forgot to share something, so I'm probably going to insert this little extra clip in somewhere where it'll fit. But last week I had mentioned that my co-author Amy Hosp and I finished a Christmas book, and I have it. So this is available on Amazon. It is called Candy Chaos and the Santa Cure, and it is, and the subtitle is A Sweet Christmas Adventure with a Healthy Carnivore Twist. It is a cute little book. It's very colorful, about elves and Santa. They eat too much candy. They've got tummy aches. It is a cute book, and so I have the link in my description of my video. But I'm so excited. This is our third Carnivore kids book. And on the live stream for Healing Humanity Life, Kerry included this and our first book in a giveaway. And so a couple people are going to get these in the mail. But it makes a great gift for kids, grandkids. It's a cute story that'll teach them that eating beef and eating carnivore, good healthy foods is going to make you feel so much better and avoid the tummy aches and avoid being so exhausted and tired. So anyways, it's one of those things that's going to help kids understand that there are better food choices, and amongst all the messaging that they're getting from everywhere else, Amy and I are hoping to have a lot of books out there that will help parents and grandparents provide some fun things for their kids to help teach them a different way of eating. So anyways, that is it for this video. I hope to have wonderful things to report next week. I'm back on track. Forget the dairy, forget fake foods. Beef is the best thing for me, and I feel the best when I have beef, and that's just the way it is. Apparently that's my life. But if I can feel good and my skin looks amazing, if my gut feels good, if my joints feel good, if my brain fog is gone, my sleep is good, all of those things are just so, I would not trade how good I can feel, and I have felt, for food that doesn't make me feel good. It's just not worth it. I mean, to not have the pain in my body is amazing, because I was in pain every day. And when I eat beef and lamb, basically the ruminant meats, I don't have pain. I won't trade that for anything. No food is worth it. I figure I had 55 years of eating whatever food I felt like putting in my mouth. I have had more than my lifetime quota of desserts. I've had more than my lifetime quota of fruit and veggies and salads and grains and pastas and all of that. I've had more than my lifetime quota. All they did was make me sicker and make me in more pain and more inflamed. So I've met the quota of those foods, and so now I am going to just focus on the foods that actually make me feel good and decrease my pain and heal my gut and heal my organs and heal everything about my body. So it's a journey, right? Okay, that's it for today. I hope everyone is having an absolutely wonderful, wonderful week. If you have not signed up for healinghumanity.life, look in my description. I have a coupon code for you that will give you a discount. And it is a wonderful, growing community. I hope you can could join and see me there. All right, have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.